2013, the year that saw The Rock be champion for the final time. 2013, the year that saw Randy Orton be in one of the best shapes of his life, along with one of the best character versions of the Viper. 2013, the year that saw the rise of the beard. 2013, the year that saw once in a lifetime turn into twice in a lifetime. As you can see, a lot happened in 2013, and it happens to be the year that the new stars were built. The stars we see today that came from FCW and the peak of the stars that were running things in the 2010s. The year, along with probably 2014, is one that will be talked about in a groundbreaking light in a couple of years. Oh yeah, and The Miz was a babyface. I love how things just come full circle. So let's get into this year in review. January 2013, right off the bat on SmackDown, Sheamus and Randy Orton started off the show declaring themselves for the Rumble. Big Show was World Heavyweight Champ and they had a match later that night. Randy stating that he was going to be champ is pretty accurate, seeing how the year turned out and ended. This is what the world title scene in 2013 looked like though. It was pretty stacked, to be honest. As for the WWE Championship, The Rock was champion for one final time. Like I mentioned earlier, the man had faced Cena a couple of months before, and John used his Royal Rumble win to announce on Raw that he was coming for a match with The Rock. WrestleMania, for the first time, was taking shape in 2013. Like I mentioned earlier though, The Miz was a babyface, so we addressed some of the big things. Now, let's get into this. And for so long, people say Miz is a natural heel, but this version of The Miz is honestly not bad in my opinion. The long hair and babyface role fit him. I remember watching this as a kid and thought he was doing a top job. He was standing up for America, being the final member of Team Foley for a match, and was scheduled to face Wade Barrett at WrestleMania 29 for the IC title. Speaking of titles, The Rock was the one to get a new version of the title a lot of fans had been wanting. John Cena had used his Rumble opportunity at Mania and was going to spend some time building this feud up, which brings us to the build up for Twice in a Lifetime, which is not a diss. I loved watching this again as a kid. John Cena had been coming for the WWE Championship, climbing obstacle after obstacle, and when they eventually came face to face at the Raw episode where WWE went old school, they both quoted famous athletes. John Cena said that in order to be the greatest who ever lived, you have to be everyone living. The Rock was confident, and he made it known that he had that confidence going into a WrestleMania rematch. John pointed out that John had that same confidence the year before. Then they had another encounter a couple of weeks later in a debate-like setting. Things got tense, and The Rock got into Cena's face. John Cena hit the famous hand signal, letting it do all the talking, and The Rock pushed him and hit a rock bottom. They faced off at Mania, in my opinion, in a better match than even before. Cena was champ and had another top-tier rivalry this year, but we'll get to that. The Miz also won the IC Championship at WrestleMania, which, come on, that's a Miz's title, even as a babyface. Which brings us to the famous Money in the Bank cash-in. The night afterwards, there was going to be a world title match. Dolph Ziegler had been Mr. Money in the Bank. The blue briefcase was so hard. Dolph had won the year prior at Money in the Bank, and he picked his spot perfectly to cash in. The champ at the time was no longer the Big Show, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, but Alberto Del Rio was now the champ. Dolph had AJ and Big E with him and came down to the ring on a Del Rio who had just been put through a grueling match. Dolph was seizing the moment, and the crowd cheered so loud. To this day, it is known to be one of the loudest reactions in history. Apparently, he was a fan favorite, and fans in the crowd really wanted to see him win. At the time, he was feuding with my boy John Cena, so we weren't about that cheering stuff, but a year later when he joined Team Cena at Survivor Series, he was top tier, one of the best. After a few moves and a cross arm breaker that I'm sure put a lot of people in panic mode, Dolph hit a zigzag and got the win to become World Heavyweight Champion for the second time. Cause yes, a lot of people don't mention that first reign, but this was his first long run with it. What else happened in 2013? Well, Brock Lesnar broke things. He broke arms and even broke into the WWE headquarters. Brock destroyed walls. It was a pretty cool segment. Maybe something that you wouldn't really expect for this video, or maybe it just doesn't pop into your head immediately, is Mr. Money in the Bank, Damien Sandow. Dolph cashed in, but later on in July, Damien won the match and was ready to cash in. John Cena was a level above Moso and came back from a wild attack. The man who was still champ though had a target on his back. John Cena was still WWE champion in July, and around July time, Mark Henry was supposed to retire. The WWE had announced that there had been chances of Mark Henry retiring that night. Out he came with the salmon colored suit, and most of the crowd was thinking that man was going to retire. John was in the ring and offered to leave, but Mark wanted him to stay. And after giving an emotional speech saying he was coming home and even calling Cena the potentially greatest of all time, which aged well, he got honored by Cena. John raised his hand and boom, talk about a swindle. He had faked this whole thing to get a WWE Championship match. John Cena carried 2013 really. Once SummerSlam time came around, he was the champ. He had that "The Champ is Here" shirt that was top tier and is one of his best. The show that is labeled as the biggest party of the summer was coming up, and you guys know WWE loves SummerSlam. They were going to put on a show specifically for the main event, and a wrestler around this time, 2013, you guys, he was catching fire. Daniel Bryan was catching flames. He was the fan representation of what they wanted to see. Even though the year prior in 2012 he had been world champ, the fans wanted more of him. The crowds were taking the yes chant to another level and turning the volume up. They wanted Daniel as champ, and they weren't going to take anyone else. This was their pick. So when SummerSlam came up, the build-up consisted of John Cena as champ, and his opponent being Daniel Bryan, the face of a billion-dollar company and the lovable fan favorite. The beard was growing, and so was his popularity. The most famous segment of the two on WWE TV was on, well, actually Miz TV. They were both there, and they addressed the real-life opinions of a large portion of fans. John Cena was a parody of wrestling, according to Daniel Bryan. John Cena stood up for himself, though, and explained that he didn't wrestle for the ones that didn't respect him. He did it for the kid sitting in the front row, and the Make-A-Wish ones he granted. That when someone was battling cancer, they didn't give up because of John's words. Cena had beat them all, so he rattled off some names like Shawn Michaels. In the match we talked about earlier, The Rock, which is kind of wild. He beat The Rock, and now he was facing Daniel Bryan. That is an extremely diverse title reign. Of course, the infamous "They are" line from the crowd also happened.
Wait a second. You talk about all those people like they are so much better than me.
John was talking for 2 to 4 minutes, and he was speaking from the heart. Daniel came back because he was ready to get to action. As most know, Daniel spent some time in Japan, and Daniel learned the trick that they did before match to get each other fired up. They slapped each other in the face. You guys are probably thinking, he's going to load his hit up. He's going to smack him with as much momentum and really lay it in. Actually, though, he almost did, but roasted John instead, saying that he wasn't because he wasn't a wrestler. Daniel and John were getting real, and they had probably one of my top 10 best Monday Night Raw segments in history. The match at SummerSlam was freaking top tier. This is one of the wrestling events that, in my opinion, puts SummerSlam on top of WrestleMania. Kind of a hot take, but SummerSlam is that event. They went back and forth, and you guys know they were dating in the same family, so it added even more realness. Daniel was targeting the arm, where it had been swollen up for a minute. John would reveal afterwards that he had an injury going into this match in his arm, mainly his elbow, which he pushed through to give the fans a show, which adds to the story even more. If you don't think he cares about wrestling, it's hard to argue against health risk in action. John hit the AA, Daniel hit the running knee, and that's it. You guys know the outcome. He won the WWE Championship for the very first time. A big part of this video has been this story. This story had us in a whirlwind, but let's not forget the fact that this is a 2013 year in review video, which means Randy Orton cashed in right after. So we're going to talk about that. Randy being champion during this time is, in my opinion, the best version of Randy up to then. Up to this point, he came together so organically and had that face of WWE character. The title looked proper on him. The night after, Cena congratulated Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton for the next couple of months was now the face of the WWE. Daniel didn't want any other title though. He wanted the WWE Championship. He kept coming for it, opportunity after opportunity, and he was booked in a match against Randy in the pay-per-view Night of Champions. In a match where it had him win again, he beat him clean with the running knee, and for the second pay-per-view in a row, he finished the main event as champion. The next night, he was stripped from the title, and the alleged reason why is because Scott Armstrong was paid off by DB to do a fast count. Bro, the fast count seems so obvious. I wonder if anyone noticed it when they were watching. Like, there was probably someone that said they're running an angle on Monday. That was a fast count, because wrestling fans do have the highest IQ, or maybe not. Everyone was cheering and applauding, so it was something most didn't. The story continued, and the next big part of the story was going to take place in a Cell rematch with special guest referee HBK Shawn Michaels. The reason why is he kept getting screwed, so this was going to guarantee. Since the championship was vacated, there would be a brand new WWE Champion. So about 20 minutes or so into the match, Shawn Michaels ends up super kicking Daniel Bryan and counting the win. So there was a new WWE Champion. It just wasn't clean. So the story continued. This was about it for 2013 though, so we're going to end this right here. The last thing on here that is really pretty big is the fact that John Cena and Randy Orton unified the world title. This was a big match, and combining meant there would be only a WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The belts look really cool though. There was that segment where they confronted each other on Raw, which is really chaotic and famous. The match itself was a history-making one, where Randy showed heel tendencies. The match ended with Orton as a winner. This was after Orton got handcuffs and tied Cena onto the ropes. So he ended off the year of 2013 on top, which he started the year off saying he would. What a year 2013 was. From John Cena getting his win at WrestleMania and having one of the most mainstream matches that people would gladly watch twice, to having that amazing story between SummerSlam and the end of the year, even having the Miz as a babyface, which is really full circle. This year really established new talent from FCW and also saw amazing moments like cash-ins. The year that people love but don't seem to give the proper recognition to, this year was important, and yeesh, it was amazing. Honestly guys, I really enjoyed making this video. Like, subscribe, and comment. Do anything on my channel popping. Peace out.